Everybody, Brian Gallagher here again from Meg Academy, and I am speaking to you in front of this virtual backdrop. I hope you like it. Thought I'd change it up a little bit from my office. It's always so bland. I have this small little office at my home that I work out of, and it's just temporary, so I haven't put a lot into it. So I thought we would start our conversation about environment and structure, because I want to do a three-part series on the components of building a successful manager. And the reason why I want to have this conversation is because I was recently at the Ascend conference, met hundreds of owners, and then prior to that, I was in 3 different state conferences. And the overwhelming theme that I'm seeing on the phone calls I've been getting, I thank you for all of you who call in, and all of you who've been subscribing to this YouTube channel. It is our fastest growing outreach service yet to date in 2022. And I can't even believe it. I mean, let's talk about this. We're halfway through the year. I mean, is that crazy? We're in June already, everybody. So whatever your goals, hopes, and dreams and plans were financially and professionally for this year, for your business model, it's half over. So if you haven't been on track or you haven't been following your business strategic plan, this 3-part series is going to help you boost it up and get you to where you want to go quicker. And that was the reason why we put this together at this time of the year. And it's the components of a good manager, or components of a good intrapreneur or management team even, because if you can replicate one, you can replicate 2 or 3. I am finding from all the owners I've been speaking with at the conferences and Ascend and people calling in, is they're still trying to do everything themselves. You feel like it can never be as good unless you're doing it, or only you know how to do it the way you want it done, or I can't find good people, or they're not reliable. And when they are here, sometimes they're hot, sometimes they're cold. All of that stuff, all of that is a justification. All of that's a justification. I'm not saying these things don't exist, but I'm saying using them as a crutch or an excuse as to why you haven't achieved what you've want to achieve is what's going to hold you back. If you go into agreement, if you're the type of owner who's going to go into agreement with justifications, then you will always be substandard. You will always be subpar. You will never really achieve the level of success that you're looking for. And that level of success is your definition of success, not mine. You know, is it, what degree of freedom do you want? What degree of financial stability do you want? What degree of optimum time flexibility do you want to be living in your life? I mean, that's what's so vitally important, is to think about the whole idea of building a successful company and team around you is to afford you the freedoms financially and time-worthy wise to spend the time on the things that you value most. So this 3-part series is going to help you march forward into achieving that. For those of you who are startups and thinking about being startups, this is a huge leg up for you guys before you even got into the game. You know, I say time and time again, don't start being a physical therapist in physical therapy school when you're in the treatment room doing your first eval. Go to PT school first. Obviously, you have to get all your training, get all your hands-on experience, get your license, and then walk into that treatment room and be ready to rock with your first patient, because you need to know an abundance of information in advance of you needing to use it. Unfortunately, so many of us get into private practice and we think just being a good therapist and hiring a bunch of people that we like and like us, it's going to go well, or we're just going to learn as we go. I can share with you that is a huge mistake. You are constantly playing catch up. You are not happy. Your time is going to be very limited, and you're going to feel this degree of overwhelm because your mental attention units are always focusing on something else. You're never at rest. You're never at peace. You're not like, you know, when you were an employee, I went to work, and from this time to this time, I was intensely focused on that. And then when that time was over, I was able to return back home and just be at peace and be focused on my dog and my cats and my spouse and my children, or whatever, my kayaking or my rollerblading, whatever you want to do. You're focusing on that and enjoying it because you're in the moment. Unfortunately, as practice owners, we kind of lose that in the momentness, because the moments of running a practice kind of bleed over into the rest of the 24 hours of the day. If you make a commitment to yourself to invest some time and money into your environment first. So here's our first step for succeeding here in the components of good management, components of good entrepreneurialism, because you're the entrepreneur, but we have to build an entrepreneur around you. You have to start with a good environment. So that's component one. If you don't give them the right tools, the right laptop or the right iPad or the right iPhone, and you're not willing to spend the money to carry their monthly fee for the phone so you can have them on call and talk to them, during hours, after hours, whatever it may be. That's just one example. That may not be one that fits you, but maybe you need to make sure that they have enough office space so that they're not in the mix of everybody else, so they can have private phone calls and they can hold private meetings. They're not doing it inside a treatment room all the time, right? So you should have a multi-purpose room, which they can block off and use privately throughout the day when they need to. Make sure that you give them a schedule, an actual admin schedule, not a treating schedule. Everybody knows when my first patient comes in, my last patient walks out. Treating schedule is easy. Give them an admin schedule. I want you to work on communication during this period of time on your 2 admin days. And during this period of time, I want you to do market research or QuickBooks analysis or statistical reviews or production and efficiency and net promoter score or pay for performance audits and inspections. Be more clear with your managers as to what you want them to do, when you want them to do it, and what the outcomes are of that doing this. All too often, people get hung up in I'm just doing things, but they're not really communicating or to you as the owner. They're not communicating to you as the owner because they're not focused enough to communicate to you what the products are they're trying to go for by spending the time doing the things they're doing. Don't get on this hamster wheel of people are just doing things all the time, but they're not really producing anything as a result of it. So that's my second tip in this episode of building a good manager and good management team around you. You may be listening to this though, and you may be saying, okay, Brian, you're getting into the mechanics of what it takes to have a successful manager around you. I can't even find that successful manager. I don't even know what I'm looking for. How do I even know that I have the right person? So in order for you to be successful there, obviously, like I said a few minutes ago, create the right environment first so it looks attractive to the best person and to the right person that you want. Make sure that they have the right tools, computers, phones, laptops, whatever, EMR systems, whatever they need, space, schedule, admin schedule. Make sure they have those tools, okay? And everyone knows them. Everyone has them. Step 1, step 2, step 3, now we can go find that person. Now we have to procure that manager who's going to be an entrepreneur and manager inside your practice. How do we do that? Well, we're going to go and we're going to be looking for, because there's 3 types of therapists. There's the new grad, anybody who's 0 to 3 years out. What are they most looking for? Obviously, they're most looking for education and professional development and professional enhancement and clinical exploration. So give them that, right? Don't tap that person on the shoulder and say, you're going to be my clinical director or my chief operating officer over my 3 clinics. Too green, not quite there yet. Now, some people may say, oh, I found the right person. They're 2 years out there. Hey, there are exceptions to the rule, but I'm going to share with you what you're looking for. The second type of therapist in the whole wide world is the advancing physical therapist. This is the one who's like, you know what? I'm doing pretty good here treating patients. I got that covered. I'm feeling comfortable with that. I'm looking for more in life. I'm capable of more. I have DNA in me that just says I can take on more and more responsibilities and be busier. And I would like to actually, and they have a passion for this, I would like to actually share my knowledge with others and see if I could, high tide rises all boats, or raises all boats, whichever way you want to say it. I want to be that person. I want to be contributing to elevating the performance level of the therapists around me. I'm your clinical director. I want to go do that. So if you're going to do that, that's the advancing therapist. They're typically that person who's like 3 to 8 years out, 3 to 7, 8 years out, 6 years out. After that, you're in that veteran therapist, 9, 10, 20, 15 years. They're typically, the ship has sailed. Do not think about bringing them in to be your clinical director. Or usually their kids are in college. They want to make more money. And they're like, oh yeah, I want to be this now. Well, right. If that was in your DNA, you would have done that when you were in an advancing phase. Phases years 3 through 8, years 3 through 9. But you didn't, that wasn't who you were. You liked running your schedule. You liked exchanging time for money. You liked working your schedule and going home. And now all of a sudden finances, you had a divorce, or your kids are in school, and now all of a sudden you want to be clinical director. Be weary of that. I find that fails more often than it succeeds. I'm not saying all the time. Nobody has a crystal ball and says 100%, But in my 30 years of experience, when someone's raised their hand saying, I want to now be a clinical director after 13 years of not, and they're just being a staff therapist, there's a reason for that. That's not because they all of a sudden became an able intrapreneur and they're the best candidate for you. That has not been my experience. So kind of vet that out a little bit. Now, how do you do that? Ask questions about their past. What have they liked? What haven't they liked? What have they enjoyed? What haven't they enjoyed? What's going on in their present? How are things in life now? What is it that you're most interested in? What is it you're most chomping on? What does the day, the week, the year look like for you right now? And where do you see yourself in 2 years, 3 years? Let's talk about the future. What is it you want to achieve? What is it that is you're going to chalk up into the line of successes, or in the success categories, or in the professional growth categories? See what they say. They have to have very clear-cut visions and answers. A highly motivated, highly driven person will be the person you want as that manager and that entrepreneur. The other characteristic I would look for, because people are saying, hey, look, Brian, I get you're going to give us the logistics of what makes a really good manager and entrepreneur, but again, finding them. Find someone who has a history of being more than just responsible, but they're actually being accountable. Okay. Accountable. My kid throws a baseball through a window. I pay for the window. I take care of the child's discipline, no iPad for a week or iPhone or whatever it may be. I make up the damage because I'm accountable to the actions of my children because they're my dependents, right? I'm accountable to my community. I'm accountable to my staff. I'm accountable to, obviously, my wife, the big boss. So I have that degree of accountability to make sure that she lives a happy life and she's doing well and her health is good and she's not feeling worn out and dragged out and burning the candle at both ends. If I see that going on, I need to step in and take care of that. Does she have responsibility there? Yes, but I don't use that as a justification for me not acting. That's not good leadership. That's not good management. Everyone has a personal responsibility in seeing to it that they don't get overwhelmed, overloaded, burnt out, and that they're communicating and articulating how they're feeling, how they're doing, so that you can collaborate with them to have a more successful company culture. It's a team effort. It's a joint effort. It's a collaborative thing. They can't point the finger at you and like, well, I don't like the culture here. I don't like how you're running it. Well, what are you doing about it? That's an irresponsible person who's not actually putting forth any effort to see that things go in the best way, in the best interest, not only of themselves, but those around them. When you see somebody who is conscientious about the well-being of those around them, who takes time, energy, and effort outside of things that are just the scope of their practice, outside the scope of them treating patients, now you're seeing some level of accountability. Ask questions like that in the interview. Tell me about a time that you last helped someone. Well, you should see people just go blank. Well, I don't know. No, you being human and being accountable means being accountable to others, not through obligation, but through the sense of responsibility and accountability, through the sense of being human, right? Those are the people that are your management team. People who are ambitious, they're always early. They take things on. They're always wanting to learn. They're always wanting to professionally grow and develop. But they also have a vested interest in seeing the PTAs around them get better or the techs get better, and they're willing to take time to care for that. They're usually the therapist who's also educating the patients a lot. They're very heavy into patient education. Why? Because what I teach a patient lasts a lifetime. What I do in therapy lasts the time that they're my patient, or lasts through the plan of care, right? Or the immediate future. So these are some tricks of the trade that you can focus your eyes on to know that you're selecting the right person. Once you do, pull them in, handle their environment, handle their time through a schedule, and then put them on professional enhancement training so that they're being groomed as a manager. They're learning skills of conflict resolution. They're learning skills of how to bring about agreement through effective communication. They're learning listening skills. They're learning how to issue orders, how to ask for accountability, checking in at the midway point. If I give an order, hey, Sam, I need you to wipe down those 12 tables and then come see me at 4:00. Let me know that's done and pull the charts for the next day. Not that anyone's pulling charts anymore, but just give me an example. And I want you to check in at the halfway point. It's 8:00 now. Check in at noon. Let me know how you're doing. Hey, I don't have anything else to do. That's good leadership. I gave an order, I gave an outcome, and I gave them the responsibility to check in and let me know halfway through how they're doing. And the reason why I want to know that is because I don't want somebody to get up to 3, 4 o'clock and go, oh, Brian, you don't know what happened today. I got totally thrown off my game because of whatever, a printer failed or somebody called us sick or whatever. And now they're not meeting their deadline because they're telling me an hour before the deadline. I never want that. You never want that. That is very bad management. You need to have them check in with you at the halfway point. So if some crisis situation happened, you have enough time to either jump in, divert attention, bring in more resources. Deadlines are always to be met. So there you go. That's my chapter one, part one, if you will, of actually going over the effective components of building a intrapreneur manager around you. This part one covered environment, structure, with a daily schedule, where they spend their time, how they spend their time, application of tools. And then I gave you some foresight on actually how you procure that person. I kind of backed up, gave you that foresight, how you procure that person through a 5-phase interview process. We have a 5-phase recruiting process. In phase 4 of that is the interview. And I gave you some sense of how you ask those questions to kind of pull out, tease out, if you will, if this person has the traits of accountability, not just responsibility. So that's it for part one. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope this helps you to start your journey and surrounding yourself with a management team so you can be the entrepreneur, not intrapreneur, entrepreneur to grow, expand, and scale your practice to greater heights with greater degrees of success. That's it. So please subscribe to this YouTube channel. If you like this vital information, if you like these kind of tips of the trade, subscribe. That is so helpful to our channel. Put comments below though. I want to hear what you think about what I'm saying. Like literally throw them in there so we can answer those. Or visit my website and schedule a practice assessment. I will talk to you for a whole hour, all just you and I, about your practice, what's going on, where you want to go, how you want to get there, and why you're not there yet. We'll just be friends at the end of that. And if there's services that we can provide that's going to help you, I'll connect you with those. That's it, everybody. As always, expect to do well each and every day.